Noisy Pixel.
What's up, nerds, and welcome to the Noisy Pixel Podcast, the official podcast of noisypixel.net, where we cover gaming news, reviews, previews, and mostly just talk about ourselves. I am not your host. I will be your friend, Victor Aparicio, and joining me is nobody. I'm here all by myself. That is because of Brian. I'm going to blame Brian. Brian is to blame for everything. He is the most loving, hardworking, funniest, and just most duteous dude I've ever known. And unfortunately, he couldn't be here. And thanks to me supposedly supposed to be taking over. I don't mean supposedly like I'm just like, what? I'm just learning about this now. I just mean that I'm forgetful and things didn't happen and stuff like that. So here I am making sure that you get a brand spanking new episode. So you guys can be entertained throughout the weekend. So this is the part where I generally just ask a bunch of people, what they've been up to, how's their life and all that stuff. But I can't do that. There's obvious reasons why. I suppose we can ask me how I'm doing. Hello, Victor. How you doing? I'm doing terribly because I have to talk to myself. Oh, great. In that case, I guess now I'll just say that the Noisy Pixel podcast is recorded every week and posted to podcast services like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, and more. If you want to send questions and comments for us to regale on the show, you can send those to mppodcast@noisypixel.net. And now for the show. So guys, again, I'm here all by myself, so now I'm just going to talk about our usual thing, which is what you've been playing. And it's only me, so here we go. I'm going to talk about how I've been playing. I bought Call of Duty Modern Warfare as well as Death Stranding. I'll start with Call of Duty. The reason why I bought Call of Duty is because, like a lot of people, I just felt like there's a big fatigue going on in the Call of Duties. And, I wasn't entirely happy with how they were going. And even though there were some that I was mildly interested in, like I forgot which Call of Duty, it was part of Infinite Warfare where they're up in space and you can navigate in space and like jump on shit and, just fly around all over the place and shooting like you usually do. I thought that was very interesting. I didn't end up buying that game purely because of, just forgetting or not having that much money. I was just like, whatever. And then like I heard it was a so-so campaign anyway, so I was just like, okay. And the last Call of Duty that really interested me was probably the last Black Ops. I don't remember if it was part 3 or 4. I'm pretty sure it was 4, the one that had the Battle Royale aspects. I really wanted to buy that just for the Battle Royale, but then I got just kind of snooty because I was just like, I pretty much only going to play Battle Royale, especially since there's no campaign. So what up with that? So I didn't end up going with that, but the point is, this is the first one that really interests me. I think the biggest thing that got me that I've actually yet to play now that I realize it is the 2 versus 2, I believe it's called Gunfight. And I really inspired for 3 of my friends to get on 2v2 teams, really battle out for skill versus skill. Something I really missed from the original Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 4. It was just like you and your guns, your grenades, and very limited kill streaks, at least ones that weren't so bombastic and all that stuff. It really is true that still in Call of Duty you can get killed like every few seconds, which I feel like they probably should have changed by now, especially with games like Fortnite and stuff, where it really appeals to brand new players. Even though I would argue that, if Fortnite really goes over my head, so I don't understand where this accessibility for new players is coming from. Probably from how it's just so cartoony and cute. It's probably why they added all those bots. In fact, I believe is why they added all those bots, because like you'll get a few kills in, you'll feel better, and the higher level you get, the more they'll take the bots away. But to each their own for that. But yeah, when I play the regular modes when my friends aren't on, I still get killed all the time. I do decent here and there. I really lost all my skills from when I was playing Modern Warfare 1 and 2, the original ones. And It's going fine. I don't necessarily regret my purchase yet, although nowadays, like from a quality perspective, like yes, a $60 game is justified, especially since there's Spec Ops, a campaign, multiplayer, and the assortment and the amount of work they put into there. I would never want to take money out of the mouths of all the developers that worked on it, but like I just feel like there's this stigma, there's this kind of, I don't know what to call it, but like for a full $60 for a Call of Duty that's arguably the same every single year and yet to be split into components that people really care about, I still find that odd. Not really sure. Like this whole thing is like, we're not gonna do microtransactions and the like. I never 100%ed. Excuse me, sorry about the phone call. But yeah, I never 100% minded the microtransactions. I guess to someone to players that actually really paid attention, since obviously I said I didn't really play all those other games, is that, you know, there's something troubling about the microtransactions, and I can see why they're problematic. Obviously from my perspective, I've talked about it before, where I look at microtransactions and I just see things that I don't necessarily want to buy. There's nothing really appealing to me about them. Cosmetics look super cool, but for a one-time, even as a low-cost one-time purchase for something that I will inevitably not look at a lot, because I don't play games often, and I like to move on from games after a while, even if they're long-term multiplayer games. I don't see the investment. But for those who really care, for those who know they're going to stick to games, they're not that bad of an option. So yeah, so my point being is that a little bit of microtransaction, especially if they're fair, especially if they're not like making you fork over your wallet, even though nothing is making anybody fork over wallets, but anything that can reduce that feeling and support itself for a divided up multiplayer component with microtransactions, I don't necessarily see a problem with that. I know a lot of people do, but again, to each their own. But moving away from Call of Duty, I've been playing Death Stranding, and so far I'm really excited, because for one, I really like Hideo Kojima games. The thing I get really most excited about them, because obviously I know this isn't going to be Metal Gear like in any form, except for maybe one or two mechanics that Kojima may have felt was appropriate to bring over for this game. I just know how fourth wall breaking and wacky he can be with it. We obviously seen things like you're able to like pee on the floor and create like a mushroom, and apparently if you pee on that mushroom, that's someone else's, crazy stuff happens. So I like those aspects. Those are really funny and stuff like that, and those are the things I'm most excited about when playing Hideo Kojima games, other than this is a brand new Hideo Kojima game. So I'm excited in that aspect. I will be reviewing it, so I don't know a whole lot. I've been avoiding reviews, and a small tangent. It's so funny how nowadays, I don't know if it's as big as it was when I was, before I was, in games journalism, is that there's like a big culture for not spoiling anything. No one should be spoiling anything. No one should be talking about things, especially if they're, younger than like a year or so or whatnot. But like the headlines are just, they have to be so grabby, and like, it's cool to be, well, not cool. It's more important for headlines to be drawn more towards the negative. It really gets people who, because people tend to agree with a lot of negative things, or see that perspective, or for people who really like the thing, they don't like to see negative thoughts and want to click on it and be like, I want to read this thing I disagree with so I can, be upset about it, or this thing confirms stuff that I thought about it. So like, it's sort of a win-win. If something's more positive, I guess you don't get to have that negative crowd who's just like, that sounds stupid, I'm not going to read it. So, sorry, a little out of breath. Okay. I really try to avoid things, especially if they're in a reviewing tone, or like something Kotaku-esque, where like they want to focus on a specific aspect on the game that I haven't been to yet. It's so hard to avoid those because they kind of somewhat spill those details in the headline to get to get people's attention. So there are like sprinkles of things I know about, sprinkle of opinions that people might have. I avoid reading those to maybe influence my decision one way or another, where I'm just like, I guess now that someone brought it up, I do feel this way about something. I don't know, it's just a little something I take a little seriously. So I try to avoid those. So, but anyways, my playthrough of Death Stranding so far is, it's fine. Because because the thing is, I can see where people might not like this game. I can see people who just start it and all they're doing is walking point A to point B a lot. And I'm currently in those sections. I can't 100% even say that I'm even in the middle of the game, like halfway point or anything like that. But so far, that's what it seems. I can see that turning off people. For me, like, I'm a pretty patient consumer. Like, there are games that I played where like, I want to turn it off in the first few moments, but that's mostly me being picky about like mechanical things or quality polish and all that stuff. And so because this game does play well, because the mechanics are doing what they there are a handful of things that are just like, it's not very clear what's happening on screen, and I can get into that in my reviews. But other than that, like, everything seems solid. So I'm really patient with the game. I want to see where it's going, and I just wanted to bring that up because there are times where people are also divisive on TV shows and movies. I do like this quieter, slower pace movies, kind of like Place Beyond the Pines, Breaking Bad, things like that, where people are just like, dude, it's just like long, drawn out shots of like Walter White just staring at a mirror and then he goes like, oh, and then like walks away and the scene's over. And it's just like, what did that even mean? Like, I like watching those scenes, interpreting what they mean and all that stuff. So I tend to be a patient consumer, and I want to see where things are headed. So that's how I feel about this game. So right now I'm still enjoying it in that aspect. So far it is walking from point A to point B, but there are aspects of going between those points where it is interesting. It's not necessarily like bombastic action. I don't know if we'll ever get to that point. I know at some point, in trailers, like Sam Porter Bridges, which is the main character, holds a gun and whatnot and like smacks some people around with some cargo that he's holding. But so far, I don't expect those moments to be littered within the game. Maybe that will change. I don't know. Because I know so far from a story aspect that, this isn't a Solid Snake or anything. He isn't like a highly experienced military guy. So like, I don't expect Sam to just like handle rifles and stuff and weapons and just like go crazy and nuts and like capable of murdering mass amounts of people the way experienced delivery and hiker could do. Although there was this funny part where in the beginning of the game where you can handle something called strand, which is just this fancy rope that he has, and he can use it to like tie people up. And he really took down a guy like just rapidly fast with the like in a way where it's just like, for the first time that I'm doing this game, it looks like you've done this a billion times, like really tied someone up and incapacitated him like very quickly. I don't think he killed anyone though, from how fast and like he was able to take him down. It did look like he just knocked him to shit. So I think that's funny. But other than that, enjoying the game. Can't wait to show you guys my review of that. So look out for that. Don't really have a date for that because, obviously we're past embargoes and I had to purchase the game myself. So definitely going to be more later than from everyone else who got like the game early and stuff like that. God damn it. Zari wants to hang out, so now I'm going to make this quick. Let's go through the recap. I'm getting like lightheaded because I'm talking fast and by myself and without breathing, so excuse me if you can hear me like passing out. But yeah, we'll do the weekly recap. Also, excuse me for like clicking around on my mouse and all the sounds coming out of my computer. This is a quick and fast podcast for you guys to enjoy. So for the first part of our weekly recap, we got an exclusive chapter releases over on noisypix.net. This is from Spirit Hunter NG. We got the exclusive that published these novella, Novella, I don't know how to say it. These little bits of chapter story bits into chapters. We've been posting these since Monday, I believe. And if you're just not over Halloween, if you're mad that Halloween is over and you did not get your scary fix, please head over to noisypix.net. This is Spirit Hunter NG, and they got some really like kind of eerie things going on in here. I suppose I'll give you a little taste. Well, maybe not, because like this is what I'm looking at is chapter 5. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. That I read the word spoiler in here, and I don't want to mess it up. So please head over. Sorry for hyping it up a little bit, but I just think it's really interesting. I read chapters 1 through 3 and like got busy with Death Stranding, so I don't know. Maybe I even shouldn't read this myself. So we'll move on. Speaking of Death Stranding, Death Stranding actually got slated for summer 2020 release for Epic Games Store and Steam, for those who are super mad about Epic Games Store exclusives. I don't necessarily see why people are mad about it. I guess the main what's the words I'm looking for? I guess the main fervor is that people are tired of having multiple launchers. People don't like how like non-feature full the Epic Game Store is and all that stuff, and people just feel forced to have multiple logins to play their games, and everyone wishes everything was like a Humble Bundle or a GOG kind of situation where it's just like you just download it, you play it. I don't need to click on 20 things just to play one game. I can feel that sentiment, but I don't mind it. Like, it's just everything is just space on your computer anyway, so it's whatever for me. But I gotta stop saying to each their own. I almost said it again. But anyways, so yes, so the publishing is interesting. It's actually going to be done by 505 Games, so that's pretty cool. In terms of like, they published some interesting games before. I know they did Control, which they did for PS4 and PC. So, they're coming up on their own for like high quality. I know they don't necessarily make the games they publish the game, but like they really put their foot down and really want to deliver all these cool games on multiple platforms. So they're a good multi-platform publisher, or at least they're coming up to be. So I like that. I do like that Sony. I think Azario made this point too, where like Sony like threw so much money at Death Stranding, just doing like stuff I'll actually get to later, and like they just gave so much money. But for publish on PC, even though they have multiple ways to do that, they're just like, I don't know if it's just like maybe not, or just 505 Games had the better deal or whatnot. So I find that interesting. So yeah, can't wait to see a Hideo Kojima game on PC. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say there's never been a PC. Oh yeah, I know for sure Phantom Pain has been on PC. So cool. Anyways, by the way, if you heard these news pieces during our YouTube segment where Azario goes over the news pieces and stuff like that, I don't mean to step on those toes or anything like that. I guess it's just like my take on the news pieces. There's probably a little overlap, so excuse me for that. I'm just picking out stories that I think are pretty cool or neat and stuff like that. Like Corsair launching a T3 Rush gaming chair with comfort in mind. That's the headline by Azario Lopez. That's really cool and stuff. Let's see. I only read a little bit of this, but I just like how we have a chair, not a chair review, but a chair sort of a news piece on here about Corsair going to chairs. But you know what? I wasn't in during the talks to put that on the site, but I bet there's a really good reason this might be a really good chair. and I'm actually in the market for a chair. I don't know if I want one gaming-esque. I do like how tall gaming chairs can be. I do like the idea of resting my head. I have a chair that mostly just supports my back, and I don't mind those ones. I'm not really just aching to rest the back of my head, but it would be nice to have some neck or head support every once in a while, especially these weird crazy chairs that like inclines like almost flat, like this one can. This one can do a 180-degree recline range, so that's practically laying down, and you can lock the seat so you don't fall back. I don't understand how you don't fall back anyways. Like, I know there's that meme with PewDiePie where he's just like, you know, you're not a gamer unless your chair can do this or whatever the joke was, but I don't know how people don't fall over on those. Yeah, we got 65 millimeter dual wheel casters, which look like, I don't understand the bottom part of gaming chairs. They all look like they use the same things. I know there's particular types of wheels, like those I can probably notice a difference, but they all have like the same like 5 or 6 like wheels pointed out. Kind of, it's fine though. It's fine. If you see this chair and you're like, I gotta have it, sure. But yeah, I'm in desperate need of a new chair, mostly from a cleanliness perspective, because my chair looks like, I don't know what I did to my chair. My chair is just in awful condition. It's like a blue fabric, but there's like so much, from looking at it, you can tell I just like, I don't know, like I protrude weird things out of my body that is making everyone nauseous just talking about it. And I hope you're not eating during this podcast. So let's move on to Pearl Abyss, revealing 3 new IPs. This is the developer behind Black Desert, that MMORPG, which I've been dying to check out, but for some weird reason in my brain, even though I have plenty of hours after work, after my day job, to play some games, I just haven't got around to it. Time's precious, even for weirdos like me who sort of kind of waste half of it staring at the ceiling and watching the paint dry. But we got 3 games, Plan 8. It says it's an exosuit MMO shooter. And let's see here. Ooh, the technical advisor is a guy who co-created Counter-Strike, so that has potential. That's pretty cool. Only because, like, love it or hate it, Counter-Strike, you know, it is a technical sound game. There's a lot of technicalities going on with that game, whether it's like, you know, just, you know, from gun spread and handling and the speed of which your character can move from when the weapon you're handling and the scoping in when you have like a sniper rifle and all that. If you know Counter-Strike, yeah, I'm probably just butchering it, so sorry about that, but like, yeah, so let's see, like the technical mechanics of Counter-Strike, but an exosuit MMO shooter. Let's see it happen. That sounds like a great recipe. So we got Doki 5 or Doki V, MMORPG for all ages. That sounds pretty fun. For all ages. So I guess I don't know. Like, there are game directors and stuff and animation directors from Black Desert Online. So that's pretty cool to make an MMO RPG that's appropriate for everybody. Crimson Desert, fantasy MMORPG where players can survive from a war-torn world made up by 3 tribes who fight to control the continent of Priwell. Sure, yeah. Is this gonna replace Black Desert? I don't believe it ever will, but sure. Let's get more MMOs so Victor can never have time to play any of them. And our big story for the day, at least for me, because I'm just the PlayStation nerd, is Shuhei Yoshida. They're refocusing his role so he can focus more on bringing indie developers to PlayStation, you know, their platforms and stuff like that. And you know, with the simultaneous push, thanks to the Microsoft code deal for more technology than the cloud gaming, I think that's the perfect time to do it. That way, there's potential for, you don't even need a PlayStation to play these cool indies that Shuhei Yoshida will bring over. That'd be super cool. But they're also bringing on the Guerrilla Games head, Herman Holtz. I hope I said that right. Herman Holtz is he was head of Guerrilla Games, and they're bringing him to be the head of Worldwide Studios, which is super cool. I really like that guy. I like that guy since they're again Death Stranding, when they were bringing on Hideo Kojima and they're flying all around the world to all the Worldwide Studios, so he can see what technologies and get him back on his feet so he can develop his studio better, create some awesome games and stuff like that. Herman and his team were the people who gave him the Decima engine, an open source of it, so he can take it and shape it the way that would help him make Death Stranding and all that stuff. So I think that's really cool. I think Herman doing that just really shows that not only that hospitality that the Worldwide Studios have, but kind of like the vision to see people's potential and to really guide people to create their vision and bring it onto PlayStation platforms. I think someone who has that big of a gesture, that big of promise and trust, that's what we need in a really cool head of PlayStation that's going to watch all these development studios. So I think that's super cool. But that's pretty much all I have to say about that. I knew I said it was the big story, but we got to get this show rolling. So that's the news of the week. 100% approve of Herman. Let's get him on stage for the next Herman. Number one rule: bring back PlayStation Experience. Thank you. Anyways, so let me get my breath. I talk too fast. I'm getting lightheaded. Whew. Okay. So, actually, I don't know what to do for a segment after this. We have old segments that I wish we brought back, kind of like Get to Know Your Pixels or Jablinski Minute. But again, this is a rough and dirty episode of the Noisy Pixel podcast. So I didn't come prepared for this one. I guess I can just say I have 2 Vitas and I use both of them almost regularly. So how about you answer me this? How about you go... Let's do this. Email me, victor@noisypixel.net, and tell me two of the same things that you have that can probably be a little necessary, but necessary for your own little geekdom for your purposes. I would love to hear from you guys. And yeah, that'll be your homework assignment for the week. So thank you guys so much for listening to the Noisy Pixel podcast. You can find Noisy Pixel on various social media sites such as Twitter, Noisy Pixel News, and I'm on Twitter as well, _Mickmer. You can also send me, messages of all the crazy things you do, all the 2 things that you have, and I would love to read those. And also please subscribe to our YouTube. You can search Noisy Pixel on YouTube. You can do all that. And and don't forget to send your questions and comments to nppodcast@noisypixel.net. And read noisypixel.net. That's our bread and butter for all our news, reviews, and previews. And I'll see you guys later. Thank you. Bye.